The morning started like any other in the great council chambers. Hundreds of beings from different worlds filled the massive hall. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others floated in the air or moved with tentacles. The air buzzed with strange languages being translated into common speech. Ambassador Zekthara from the planet Velen noticed something wrong right away. Her large blue eyes looked at the empty seats where the humans always sat. For 15 years, those seats had never been empty, not once. "Where are the Earth people?" she whispered to her assistant. Her assistant checked his datapad. "I do not know. They did not send any message." Council Speaker Morton called the meeting. "To order," his voice echoed through the hall. "We will begin today's session. All members, please take your seats." But the human seats stayed empty. Morton had 4 eyes, and all of them looked at the empty section. "Has anyone heard from the Terran delegation?" No one answered. The silence felt heavy and strange. Far away from the council chambers, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Liberty. Through the big windows, he watched the last human transport ships disappear into hyperspace. Each ship carried thousands of people away from council space. "Sir, the final group has jumped to safety," said Lieutenant Amy Clark. She was young but had been working on this secret mission for months. "Every human colony is now empty. Every research station has been cleared out." Morrison nodded. His face looked tired but determined. The decision to leave had not been easy. It had taken the human government 2 years to plan this massive evacuation. 2 years of secret meetings and careful preparation. "What about our hyperspace routes?" Morrison asked. "All navigation data has been erased," reported Captain Neal. "Parker, the Council will never find us now. We removed every beacon, every signal, every trace of where we went." Morrison remembered the meeting where the decision was made. The human president had stood before the emergency session of Earth's government. The numbers were terrible to hear. 17 wars fought for the Council. Over 3 million human soldiers dead. Hundreds of colonies destroyed while defending other species, and what did humanity get in return? Insults. The other species called humans too violent. They said humans were not civilized enough. They treated human soldiers like attack dogs that could be unleashed when needed, and ignored when the fighting was over. The final insult had come after the Zephyrian crisis. Ancient war machines had awakened and threatened to destroy entire star systems. The Council had begged for human help. Human forces had fought for 2 years to stop the machines. They had succeeded, but the cost was enormous. When the crisis ended, the Council passed a resolution. It said humans were disturbing in their approach to warfare and unsuitable for peaceful galactic society. The same humans who had just saved their worlds were being criticized for being too good at fighting. That was when Earth's government made the choice. If the Council did not want humans around, then humans would leave, not with angry words or threats. They would simply go away. "All civilian ships have reached the meeting point?" Morrison asked. "Yes, sir," Amy answered. "The colony ships are already heading to our new home. The transport with the children left yesterday." Morrison felt relief. The hardest part had been keeping the children safe during the evacuation. Millions of human families had lived throughout Council space. Getting them all out without anyone noticing had been like solving a giant puzzle. The plan had been brilliant in its simplicity. Humans had used their own ships to move people and supplies. They had told the Council that they were doing routine maintenance on their facilities. No one suspected that maintenance meant packing everything up and leaving forever. Human traders had quietly bought supplies from Council markets. Food, medicine, equipment, everything needed to start over in a new place. The purchases were spread out over months so no one would notice. "What about our trade agreements?" Parker asked. "All honored until the end date," Morrison replied. "We kept our word completely. Every contract finished properly. Every deal completed as promised. No one can say we broke our promises." And that had been important to the human government. They wanted to leave with honor. No broken contracts, no abandoned responsibilities. When the Council realized humans were gone, they would not be able to claim humans had betrayed anyone. Amy looked at her instruments. "Sir, we are receiving emergency broadcasts from Council Space." "Put it on speaker," Morrison ordered. The Council's communication came through clearly. It was Speaker Morton's voice, but he sounded worried now. "This is an urgent message to all Terran forces. The Krellian pirates have attacked shipping lanes in Sectors 7 and 9. We request immediate military assistance. Please respond." Morrison and his officers listened in silence. The Krellian syndicate had been quiet for years, held back only by fear of human retaliation. Now they were testing the waters. "Should we respond, sir?" Amy asked. Morrison shook his head. "Send the standard message," Amy typed on her console. The message was simple. Communication received. No human forces available in Council Space. Good luck. The message would be sent through an untraceable relay. The Council would receive it, but would have no way to find where it came from. Parker smiled grimly. "Think they will figure it out?" "Eventually," Morrison said. "But by then it will be too late." The truth was that humanity had not just left Council Space. They had left the entire galaxy. Their new home was in a small satellite galaxy, far beyond the reach of Council sensors. It would take the Council years just to realize humans had gone that far. "Sir, final systems check complete," reported the ship's engineer. "All human technology has been removed from Council networks. Their computers, their communication systems, their medical equipment, it will all start failing soon." Morrison had not realized how much Council civilization depended on human technology until they started removing it. Humans had built or improved most of the Council's important systems over the past 50 years. Without human maintenance, those systems would break down. "How long before they notice?" Morrison asked. "The communication network will start having problems in a few weeks," the engineer replied. "The medical systems will last maybe 2 months. After that. He shrugged. Morrison looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, the Council was starting to realize that their attack dogs had slipped their leash. Soon they would discover what it really meant to stand on their own. The UES Liberty jumped to hyperspace, following the rest of humanity to their new home among distant stars. 3 months had passed since the humans disappeared. The great Council chambers felt different now. The empty human seats seemed to stare at everyone like silent reminders of something missing. Council Speaker Morton tried to keep order, but problems were growing every day. The first crisis came from an unexpected place. The Krellian pirates, who had been quiet for years, suddenly became bold and dangerous. "They attacked 3 cargo ships yesterday," reported Security Chief Veltok. His tentacles moved nervously. As he spoke, the ships were completely destroyed. No survivors. The Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. For decades, the Krellians had avoided major attacks. Everyone knew why. The humans had made it clear that any large-scale piracy would bring swift punishment. Just the threat of human warships had kept the pirates in check. Now that threat was gone. "Send our patrol fleet to deal with them," ordered Morton. "How hard can it be to stop some pirates?" Admiral Zixanol from the Altarian Navy stood up slowly. His blue skin looked pale under the chamber lights. "Speaker, we tried that. The results were not good." The holographic display in the center of the chamber lit up. It showed the wreckage of what had been 3 Council warships. The twisted metal and scattered debris told a story of complete defeat. "What happened?" Morton asked, though his voice suggested he did not want to hear the answer. "The Krellians used human tactics against us," Zixanol explained. "They put civilian prisoners on their ships as shields. When we hesitated to fire, they destroyed us. They also used fake surrender signals to get close to our vessels." The chamber fell silent. These were tricks the humans had warned about years ago. Back then, the Council had called such warnings examples of human paranoia and aggressive thinking. "But surely our combined fleets can handle a few pirate ships?" asked Ambassador Kreeth from the Mining Guild. The answer came in the form of another emergency message. The voice was panicked and full of static. "This is Kepler Station. We are under attack. Multiple Krellian ships are..." Wait, they are using our own supply vessels as cover. We cannot fire without hitting civilians. The transmission cut to silence. Zixenal looked at the floor. Kepler Station was completely destroyed 2 hours ago. The Krellians captured 20 civilian ships and used them to block our weapons. When we tried to board the pirate vessels, they triggered explosives that killed everyone. The mining guild representative stood up angrily. Where are the humans? This is exactly the kind of situation they were supposed to handle. The humans are gone, Morton replied firmly. We must handle this ourselves. But handling it themselves was proving impossible. The Council's military had been designed for peacekeeping, not real warfare. Their ships were beautiful and impressive, but they were not built for serious fighting. The crews were trained to negotiate and maintain order, not to kill enemies who did not follow any rules. Far away in the Outer Rim territories, Captain Lisa Hayes sat in the command center of the colony ship New Boston. Around her, screens showed news broadcasts from Council space. The reports were getting worse every day. They are asking for help again, she told the other colony leaders during their weekly meeting. The Krellians destroyed another mining station. Yesterday, Colony Administrator Ben Carter shook his head. What did Central Command say? The same thing as always. No human forces are available in Council space. We wish them good luck, the response had become standard. Every desperate plea from the Council received the same polite but firm rejection. Humanity had moved on. Dr. Susan Green, the colony's chief medical officer, pulled up her own reports. I have been monitoring their medical networks. Their hospitals are failing. How bad is it? Carter asked. Very bad. The bio-neural interfaces that run their surgical equipment were all designed by humans. Without maintenance, the systems are breaking down. Their death rates are climbing. This was the hidden cost of humanity's departure. For 50 years, humans had not just provided military protection. They had built and maintained much of the Council's advanced technology. Medical equipment, communication networks, transportation systems, all of it had human engineering at its core, back in Council space. Problems were spreading like a disease. The quantum communication network that connected all member worlds was operating at half capacity. Engineers from a dozen species tried to fix the problems, but human-designed quantum stabilizers were beyond their understanding. We need the technical manuals, Chief Technology Officer Vanna told the emergency session. The humans took everything when they left. Every blueprint, every maintenance guide, every instruction manual. Can we not figure it out ourselves? Morton asked desperately. Sylvana's forearms gestured helplessly. Human technology is unlike anything else in the galaxy. They think differently than we do. Their machines use principles that seem impossible, but somehow they work. Without their knowledge, we are like children trying to repair a star. The Vorthan Empire had been watching these failures with great interest. For centuries, they had wanted to expand into Council territory, but the threat of human military intervention had kept them in check. Now they saw weakness and opportunity. The first Vorthan attack came without warning. 3 border systems fell in a single day. The Council's response was slow and confused. Send diplomatic messages, ordered Morton. Remind them of the peace. Treaties. The Vorthan response was simple. They sent back the burned remains of the treaties along with a message. Paper means nothing without the strength to enforce it. War had come to Council space, and they were not ready for it. Admiral Zixenal tried to organize a defense, but his forces were scattered and weak. The Council Navy had been designed to look impressive during parades and diplomatic ceremonies. Against a real military force, they crumpled like paper. We need to contact the humans, Ambassador Veltok said during another emergency meeting. Offer them anything they want? Full membership benefits, territory rights, anything? We have tried, replied Intelligence Director Haxamore. We cannot find them. Our best scouts have searched everywhere. It is as if humanity has vanished from the galaxy entirely. The truth was simpler than they imagined. Humanity had indeed vanished from their galaxy. The new human colonies were being built in a satellite galaxy millions of light years away. Council sensors could not reach that far. and their ships could not make the journey. In that distant galaxy, the Colonial Federation was thriving. Free from the constant demands to fight other people's wars, human technology was advancing rapidly. Their new cities floated in space, powered by artificial stars. Their military grew stronger every day, no longer limited by council rules about acceptable weapons and tactics. Captain Chris Turner monitored the council's broadcasts from his ship, the CFS Freedom. The messages were becoming more desperate. Each day, full citizenship for any human faction that provides military assistance, he read aloud to his crew. Territorial grants, technology sharing agreements, seats on the High Council. His crew laughed bitterly. These were the same benefits humans had been requesting for decades, always denied because they were too aggressive for Council society. Should we respond? Asked his communications officer. Turner shook his head. Let them solve their own problems. We have a new home to build. The irony was clear to everyone. By forcing humanity to leave, the Council had created exactly what they had always feared. A human civilization with no obligations to protect the weak, no rules limiting their weapons, and no reason to show mercy to enemies. The galaxy was changing. And the Council was learning too late that some teachers should not be driven away. 6 months had passed since humanity vanished, and the Council's world was falling apart. What started as small problems had grown into disasters that threatened everything they had built. The Vorthan Empire was no longer content with taking border worlds. Their massive fleets pushed deeper into Council territory every week. 16 star systems had fallen in the past month alone. Each defeat made the next one easier. They are not even slowing down, reported Admiral Zixenal during another emergency meeting. His uniform was wrinkled and his eyes were tired from endless battles. Our forces retreat, they advance. We build defenses, they destroy them. It is like trying to stop an ocean with a paper wall. Council Speaker Morton looked older than his years. The stress was killing him slowly. What do our military advisors suggest? They suggest we surrender, Zixenal replied quietly. The words hit the chamber like a physical blow. Surrender was not something the Council had ever considered. For 1,000 years, they had been the dominant power in the galaxy. Now they were being told to give up. There must be something we can do, insisted Ambassador Veltok. Some strategy the humans use that we can copy. Zixenal shook his head sadly. The humans fought differently than us. They were willing to take heavy losses to achieve victory. They used weapons we consider too cruel. They made decisions we call immoral. That is why they won battles and we lose them. The truth was painful but clear. Human military doctrine was built on accepting that war was terrible and doing whatever was necessary to end it quickly. The Council's approach was to fight wars while trying to remain civilized and moral. Against enemies who had no such concerns, this approach was useless. Meanwhile, the infrastructure problems were getting worse every day. The hyperspace communication network was now working at only 30% capacity. Entire sectors of Council space were cut off from the central government. Chief Technology Officer Silvana delivered her weekly report of failures. The medical network collapsed completely in the Outer Rim yesterday. Without bio-neural interfaces, their hospitals cannot perform complex surgeries. We estimate thousands will die in the coming weeks. Can we not build new interfaces? Asked Morton desperately. We have tried for months, Silvana replied. Human bio-neural technology uses principles we do not understand. It somehow connects electronic circuits directly to living brain tissue. Our best scientists call it impossible, yet human devices do it routinely. The economic collapse was just as devastating. Trade routes that had been safe for decades were now controlled by pirates and enemy fleets. The Krellian Syndicate had grown from a small group of raiders into a major power. They controlled dozens of systems and were demanding recognition as a legitimate government. They want a seat on the Council, reported Intelligence Director Haxamore. The Krellians claim. They now control more territory than 12 of our current member species. The request was insane, but the numbers supported it. The pirates had conquered or claimed so much space that they were technically one of the larger powers in the galaxy. Far away in the satellite galaxy, Dr. Kate Morgan finished analyzing the radio signals from Council space. The Colonial Federation monitored these broadcasts to understand how their former enemies were doing. "It is getting worse every week," she told the Colonial Science Council. "Their technology is failing faster than we expected. The cascade effect is stronger than our models predicted." Research Director Paul Adams studied the data on his holographic display. "How long before complete collapse?" "At this rate, maybe 2 years," Kate replied. "Their civilization is too dependent on human-designed systems. Without maintenance, everything is breaking down at once." The irony was not lost on anyone. The Council had called humans too primitive and violent to be full members of galactic society. Now they were discovering that their advanced civilization could not survive without human technology. Security. Chief Don Kelly brought in the latest intelligence reports. The Vorthans are offering bounties for information about human colonies. 50 million credits for a confirmed human world location. "Any takers?" asked Paul. "None so far. The few traders who have seen our ships do not know where we actually live. The relay stations we use for communication hide our real location. This was by design. Humanity had learned from watching other species. They had built their new civilization with multiple layers of security. Even if someone found one human outpost, they would not be able to trace it back to the main colonies." Back in Council space, the Zephyrian crisis had returned with a vengeance. The ancient war machines that humans had fought years earlier were active again. This time, there were no human hackers to shut them down or human soldiers to destroy them. 17 systems are now completely overrun, reported General Colvex. "The machines are adapting to our tactics faster than we can develop new ones. They learn from every battle." The Zephyrian machines were relics from an ancient war fought millions of years ago. They were designed to fight endlessly, learning and improving with each engagement. Only human creativity and willingness to take extreme risks had stopped them before. "What about the shutdown codes the humans used?" asked Morton. "The machines have changed their programming," Colvex explained. "The old codes no longer work. We need new ones, but we do not have humans to create them." The situation was becoming impossible. Every solution the Council tried failed because it required human expertise or human tactics. They were like a person trying to perform surgery with their hands tied. Captain Chris Turner, monitoring from his ship in the distant galaxy, shook his head as he read the latest reports. "They are offering full Council membership to any human faction that helps them," he told his crew. "Plus territorial grants, technology sharing, and seats on the High Council." His crew laughed bitterly. These were benefits humans had requested for 50 years, always denied because they were supposedly too violent and uncivilized. "The Vorthans are within 10 jumps of the core worlds," Turner continued. "The Zephyrian machines control more space than the Council does. The pirates are demanding recognition as equals, and their technology is failing everywhere." "Should we help them?" Asked as communications officer, Turner remembered the insults, the condescension, the way Council members had looked at human soldiers like useful animals. "Let them solve their own problems. We have a new civilization to build." The Colonial Federation was indeed building something impressive. Their new worlds were marvels of engineering. Cities that floated in space, powered by artificial stars. Ships that could travel between galaxies. Weapons that made Council technology look like toys. Most importantly, they were building a society where humans were not seen as attack dogs to be unleashed when needed and ignored when the fighting was over. In the Colonial Federation, humans were citizens, not servants. Admiral Jake Morrison reviewed the latest construction reports from the colony worlds. Food production is up 40%. Industrial output has doubled. The shipyards are producing vessels faster than we ever did in Council space. What about our military capabilities? Asked Colonial President Mary Johnson. Beyond anything the Council ever had, Morrison replied. Without their restrictions on weapons research, we have developed systems they cannot even imagine. If they found us today and declared war, we could conquer the entire galaxy within a year. But conquest was not the goal, freedom was. And for the first time in generations, humanity was truly free. 1 year had passed since humanity disappeared and the Council was dying. What had once been the greatest civilization in the galaxy was now a collection of frightened worlds, begging for help that would never come. The emergency session was held in a bunker deep beneath the Council chambers. The beautiful meeting hall above ground had been destroyed 3 weeks ago when Krellian raiders attacked the capital world itself. The pirates had grown so bold that nowhere was safe anymore. Council. Speaker Morton looked like a broken man. His 4 eyes were dim with exhaustion and his voice shook when he spoke. Status report from all fronts. The reports were disasters, one after another. The Vorthan Empire now controls 38 systems, said Admiral Zixenol. They are within striking distance of the core worlds. Our fleets cannot stop them. The Zephyrian machines have awakened in 23 systems, added General Kolvex. They are building new war machines faster than we can destroy the old ones. At this rate, they will overrun everything within 6 months. The Krellian Syndicate has been recognized as a legitimate government by 4 major trade unions, reported Intelligence Director Haxamore. They control more space than we do now. But the worst news came from Chief Technology Officer Zelvana. The life support systems are failing on 12 colony worlds. Without human-designed atmospheric processors, these worlds will become uninhabitable within weeks. Morton felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. What about evacuation? We do not have enough ships, Sylvana replied quietly. The transport fleet was destroyed in the Vorthan advance. Most of our remaining vessels are military ships that cannot carry civilians. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Entire worlds were going to die, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. What about the Terran Commonwealth? Asked Ambassador Veltok desperately. Surely they have some obligation to help innocent civilians. The Terran Commonwealth no longer exists, Haxamore replied. We have not detected any official human government. Signals anywhere in known space. Our long-range scouts have found no trace of human colonies in any direction. The truth was more complete than they imagined. Humanity had not just moved away from Council space. They had moved beyond the galaxy itself, establishing their new civilization in places the Council could not even imagine reaching. Far away in the satellite galaxy, the Colonial Federation was watching the Council's collapse with mixed feelings. Some humans felt sorry for the innocent people who were suffering. Others remembered the insults and abuse they had endured for decades. Captain Chris Turner sat in the command center of the Colonial Defense Force flagship, reading the latest intelligence reports. 12 worlds are going to lose life support, he told Admiral Morrison. Billions of people will die. Morrison's face was stone. And what did they say when human children died fighting their wars? They said it was our duty to sacrifice for the greater good. This is different, Turner argued. These are civilians, innocent people. So were the 3 million human soldiers who died for the Council, Morrison replied coldly. So were the families on the colonies that were destroyed while we defended other worlds. The Council never cared about our innocent people. The debate had been raging in the colonial government for weeks. Some leaders wanted to send humanitarian aid. Others insisted that helping the Council would only encourage them to rely on humans again instead of learning to solve their own problems. Colonial President Mary Johnson had made the official decision. We will not interfere. The Council made their choice when they drove us away. Now they must live with the consequences. Back in Council space, the situation was getting worse by the day. The Vorthan Empire had launched their final offensive against the core worlds. The ancient planet of Centauri Prime, the symbolic heart of the Council, was under siege. The orbital defenses are failing, reported the Centauri garrison commander. We estimate 6 hours before the planet falls. Morton closed his eyes. Centauri Prime had been the center of galactic civilization for over 1,000 years. Its libraries contained the accumulated knowledge of hundreds of species. Its museums held treasures from across the galaxy. In 6 hours it would all be gone. Begin evacuation of essential personnel, he ordered. Priority to the archives and cultural treasures. But even evacuation was proving impossible. The Vorthan fleet had surrounded the planet completely. Nothing could get in or out. The people of Centauri Prime were trapped. The battle for the planet was a massacre. The Council's remaining fleet threw themselves against the Vorthan forces in a desperate attempt to break the blockade. Ship after ship was destroyed in hopeless attacks. Admiral Zixanal led the final charge himself. His flagship, the Harmony, was one of the most beautiful ships ever built. It was designed to inspire awe and respect, not to fight wars. Against the brutal efficiency of Vorthan warships, it lasted less than 10 minutes. When the orbital bombardment began, Morton made a decision that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. He opened a channel to broadcast across the entire galaxy. "This is Council Speaker Morton," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "The Council formally surrenders to all hostile forces. We ask only that you show mercy to civilian populations." The words echoed through space, reaching every corner of the galaxy. The Great Galactic Council, the organization that had ruled the stars for a millennium, was officially dead in the Colonial Federation. The broadcast was received with silence. Some humans felt vindicated. Others felt only sadness at the waste of it all. Dr. Kate Morgan analyzed the signal data. The broadcast came from an underground bunker on Altair 7. The council leadership is hiding in a bomb shelter. Research Director Paul Adams shook his head. A year ago they were calling us primitive warmongers. Now they are begging for mercy from the same enemies we used to protect them from. The irony is perfect, added Security Chief Don Kelly. They said we were too violent to be civilized. Now violence is the only thing that matters, and they have none. The Colonial Federation had become something the Council could never have imagined. Their technology was centuries beyond anything in the galaxy. Their military could conquer entire star systems in days. Their society was more advanced than anything the Council had ever achieved. Most importantly, they had learned from the Council's mistakes. The Colonial Federation did not rely on others for protection. They did not depend on foreign technology they could not understand. They had built their civilization to be completely self-sufficient. Admiral Morrison received a final message from Council Space. It was a personal plea from Morton himself. "Admiral Morrison, if you receive this, please help us. Not for the Council, but for the innocent people who are dying. We know we treated humanity badly. We know we drove you away. But surely you cannot watch billions die when you have the power to save them." Morrison read the message twice, then deleted it. There would be no rescue, no last-minute intervention. No heroic return of humanity to save the day. The Council had made their choice long ago when they decided that humans were useful tools rather than equal partners. They had treated humanity like attack dogs, valuable when needed, unwanted when the fighting was over. Now the galaxy was learning what happened when you drove away the only people willing to fight for you. The Council's golden age was ending. Not with a great battle, but with a whimper in an underground bunker. Humanity had moved on to build something better. The galaxy they left behind would have to learn to survive without them. 2 years had passed since humanity vanished, and the galaxy looked completely different. The age of the Council was over. What remained was a collection of broken territories ruled by whoever was strong enough to take them, the former Council. Chambers on Altair 7 were now a museum. Tourists from the Vorthan Empire came to see where the Great Galactic Council had once ruled. The empty human seats were marked with a small sign that read, "Reserved for the Terran delegation, location unknown." Council Speaker Morton was still alive, but he was no longer a speaker. There was no council left to speak for. He lived quietly on a farming world, growing vegetables and trying to forget the weight of 1 billion deaths on his conscience. The galaxy had split into dozens of small nations. The Vorthan Empire controlled the largest piece. but even they could not hold everything the Council once ruled. The Krellian Syndicate had become a legitimate government, controlling trade routes with an iron fist. The Zephyrian machines ruled 17 systems, where no organic life could survive. Most of the former Council species had learned to fight their own battles. It was a hard lesson, paid for in blood and burned worlds. They had discovered that peace was not a natural state of the universe. It had to be earned and defended every day. Ambassador Veltok, now calling himself President Veltok of the Free Worlds Alliance, met with other former Council leaders in what had once been a human embassy. The building was empty, but the human flag still flew outside. No one had dared to take it down. "Our military is finally becoming effective," he reported to the small group. "We lost another 10,000 soldiers last month, but we held 3 systems against Vorthan attacks." The others nodded grimly. Learning to fight had been expensive. The peaceful species of the Council had lost entire generations of young people in the first year of fighting. But those who survived were becoming soldiers in ways their ancestors never imagined. "What about the Zephyrian machines?" asked Admiral Zixanal. He wore scars from a dozen battles and walked with a limp from Vorthan shrapnel. "Still spreading," Veltok replied. "But slowly. We have learned to contain them by destroying entire star systems before they can establish new factories." It was a brutal solution that would have horrified the old Council. Destroying inhabited systems to stop the machines was exactly the kind of extreme tactic humans had suggested years ago. Back then, the Council had called such ideas barbaric. Now they were standard procedure. "Any word from the humans?" asked Chief Technology Officer Sylvana. She was the only original Council official still in her old job, mostly because no one else understood human technology well enough to even attempt repairs. "Nothing," Veltok answered. "Our long-range scouts have searched in every direction. Either the humans are hiding very well, or they have gone farther than we can follow." The truth was the second option. Humanity had not just left their galaxy. They had moved to a place where Council technology could never reach them. Even if the Council somehow rebuilt their civilization, they would never be advanced enough to find the Colonial Federation far away in the satellite galaxy. The Colonial Federation was celebrating its 2nd anniversary. New Washington, the capital world, hosted a grand festival. The cities floated in space like jewels, connected by streams of light that carried people and goods at impossible speeds. Admiral Jake Morrison, now Fleet Admiral of the Colonial Defense Force, stood on the observation deck of the orbital palace. Through the transparent walls, he could see the fleet that protected human space. Ships that looked like works of art but could destroy entire star systems if needed. "The latest reports from the old galaxy are in," said Colonial President Mary Johnson, joining him at the window. "The Council territories have completely fragmented. No single government controls more than 50 systems." Morrison nodded. "Good. Maybe now they will understand what it means to stand on your own. Do you ever regret leaving?" Johnson asked. Morrison considered the question carefully. "No, look what we have built here. Our technology is centuries beyond anything in the old galaxy. Our people are free to explore and create without constantly being called to fight other people's wars. Our children grow up knowing they are citizens, not weapons." It was true. The Colonial Federation had achieved things that seemed impossible. They had learned to build artificial stars to power their cities. Their ships could travel between galaxies in weeks instead of centuries. Their weapons could tear holes in space itself. Most importantly, they had built a society where strength was respected, but not the only thing that mattered. Scientists, artists, and philosophers were valued as much as soldiers. Children learned that fighting was sometimes necessary, but never glorious. The contrast with the old galaxy was stark. There, everyone was learning to fight because fighting was all that mattered now. Here, humans had moved beyond the need for constant warfare. "We are receiving trade requests from the Outer Rim territories," reported Communications Director Lisa Hayes. "Some of the former Council worlds want to establish contact." "What kind of trade?" Johnson asked. They want our medical technology. Their hospitals are still failing without human bioneural interfaces. They are offering raw materials and historical artifacts in exchange. Morrison thought about this. What does the Council of Colonies recommend? Limited trade only, Hayes replied. We send them basic medical supplies, but nothing that could help them find us or rebuild their military. We take payment in scientific data and cultural artifacts. It was a careful balance. The Colonial Federation did not want to completely cut off contact with their former galaxy, but they also did not want to give the Council species anything. That might make them dependent on humanity again. Occasionally, human merchant ships would visit the edge of Council space. The meetings were always brief and professional. The humans were polite but firm about their boundaries. They would trade for specific items, but they would not provide military aid or advanced technology. We have moved on, was the standard response to any requests for help. We suggest you do the same. The message was always clear. Humanity was no longer available to solve other people's problems. If the former Council species wanted peace and prosperity, they would have to earn it themselves. Back in the old galaxy, some species had learned this lesson well. The Free Worlds Alliance had become a tough, disciplined military organization. They had learned to make hard choices and accept heavy losses. Their young people grew up knowing that freedom had to be defended. Others had not adapted as well. The Setian Republic had been conquered by the Vorthans after refusing to militarize their society. The peaceful philosophers of Rigel had been wiped out by the Zephyrian machines when they tried to negotiate instead of fighting. The galaxy had become a harder place, but perhaps a more honest one. The old council had built their civilization on the backs of human soldiers while pretending to be above violence. Now everyone understood that peace required strength. Former council speaker Morton, working in his garden, sometimes looked up at the stars and wondered where humanity had gone. He hoped they were happy wherever they were. He also hoped they had forgiven the council for treating them so badly. He would never know that. Humanity had indeed moved on to something better. The Colonial Federation was not interested in forgiveness or revenge. They were too busy building the future to waste time on the past. The humans had kept their word in the most literal way possible. There had been no fight, no farewell, no dramatic speeches or threats. They had simply chosen to stop suffering abuse and quietly left to build something better. In the end, both civilizations had learned important lessons. The council species learned that strength and sacrifice were necessary for survival. Humanity learned that sometimes the best victory was walking away from a fight and building something new. The galaxy was forever changed, and perhaps the change was for the better.